Okay, this one needs to hit hard from the very first second. Dark. Direct. Impossible to ignore. Here is a powerful, suspense-loaded hook for your video. In the middle of a bright afternoon, under a sky so clear it felt harmless, a man was murdered in front of dozens of people, and the camera captured something no one noticed at first. Not just the killer, but someone else. Standing in the reflection. Watching. And when investigators slowed the footage frame by frame, they realized this was never just one crime. It was a performance. Planned for daylight. Designed for cameras. And the most terrifying part? The mastermind wanted the world to see it. Watch closely. Because what you are about to see was not only caught on camera. It was meant to be. Caught on camera, chilling murder in broad daylight true crime documentary. The sun stood high over Maplewood Street. It was just past noon. Shadows were short. Traffic moved in a lazy rhythm. People carried grocery bags. A child laughed near the corner bakery. Nothing felt dangerous. Nothing felt wrong. Across the street, a small convenience store blinked under a faded red sign. The security camera above the entrance tilted slightly downward. Its black glass eye reflected the sky. Inside the store, fluorescent lights hummed. The air smelled of warm dust and brewed coffee. A refrigerator motor rattled near the back wall. Emma Carter stood at the counter. She was 28 years old. She had stopped in for a bottle of water. Her fingers tapped lightly against the plastic label. Her phone buzzed in her purse. She ignored it. Behind the counter, Mr. Lawson counted change. His glasses rested low on his nose. A small television in the corner played muted news footage. Outside, a dark sedan rolled slowly past the storefront. It did not stop. It circled the block. No one noticed. A man stepped onto the sidewalk. He wore a gray hoodie despite the heat. His head stayed low. His hands were buried in his pockets. The bell above the store door rang sharply as he entered. Emma glanced over her shoulder. For a brief second, their eyes met. His stare felt empty. Not angry. Not nervous. Just hollow. The camera above the register captured everything. The angle was clear. The lighting was harsh. Every movement stood out in sharp detail. The man walked toward the counter. Each step echoed against the tile floor. Mr. Lawson looked up with a polite smile. The smile faded. The man pulled his hands from his pockets. Metal flashed under the fluorescent lights. Emma felt the air shift. Her skin prickled. Her throat tightened. The refrigerator hum grew louder in her ears. No one screamed at first. There was only confusion. Then the first shot shattered the silence. Glass exploded behind the counter. The sound was deafening in the small space. Emma dropped to the floor. Her cheek pressed against the cold tile. She smelled spilled soda and gunpowder. Another shot rang out. Mr. Lawson staggered backward. His body struck the shelves. Candy bars scattered across the floor. Outside, pedestrians froze. Some turned toward the noise. Some ran. The sedan from earlier stopped at the curb. Its engine remained running. Inside the store, time fractured. Emma's heart pounded so hard she thought it would burst. Her ears rang. She tasted metal in her mouth. The gunman moved with terrifying calm. He stepped around the counter. The camera followed his shadow across the floor. Mr. Lawson tried to crawl. He left a dark streak behind him. The gunman raised the weapon again. Daylight poured through the front windows. It illuminated everything. There was no darkness to hide in. No night to blame. Only bright, unforgiving sun. A final shot echoed. Then silence returned. Heavy. Unnatural. The gunman walked toward the door. He did not rush. He did not look back. The bell rang again as he stepped outside. He entered the waiting sedan. The car pulled away into ordinary traffic. Emma remained on the floor. Her hands trembled. She forced herself to breathe. Sirens began to wail in the distance. Louder. Closer. The security camera continued to record. Unblinking. Precise. It captured Emma rising slowly to her knees. It captured her stare toward the shattered counter. It captured the spreading red stain beneath the bright noon light. When investigators later reviewed the footage, they noticed something chilling. The gunman had looked directly into the camera before leaving. For one full second. His expression had changed. The emptiness was gone. In its place was recognition. As if he knew the world was watching. As if he wanted it to watch. And in that frozen frame, under the harsh glow of midday sun, his face was clear. Clear enough to haunt anyone who saw it. Clear enough to reveal that this was not random. This was deliberate. Planned in daylight. Executed without fear. And the camera had captured more than a murder. It had captured a message. One that investigators would spend months trying to understand. Because hidden in the reflection of the store window, just before the first shot, another figure could be seen standing outside. Watching. The figure in the reflection stood near the newspaper rack. Partially hidden behind a display of discount flyers. Face obscured by the glare of the sun. Investigators slowed the footage frame by frame. Zoomed in. Enhanced contrast. The outline sharpened. A tall silhouette. Still. Watching the entrance with unnatural focus. When the gunman stepped inside, the figure did not move. When the first shot rang out, the figure did not flinch. Traffic continued to pass. A delivery truck blocked the view for 2 seconds. When it cleared, the silhouette was gone. No running. No panic. Simply gone. Emma later told detectives that she remembered a strange feeling before the man entered. A sense that someone outside had been staring through the glass. She had brushed it aside. Assumed it was nothing. The mind often tries to protect itself from early warning signs. Forensic teams measured bullet trajectories. Collected shell casings. Dusted for fingerprints. The gunman had worn gloves. The weapon was unregistered. The sedan had stolen plates. But the camera did not lie. The footage showed timing that felt coordinated. The sedan arrived less than 10 seconds after the final shot. The engine was already running. Ready. Waiting. Phone records revealed that Mr. Lawson had received a call earlier that morning. An unknown number. 3 minutes long. Witnesses remembered seeing the same gray hoodie near the store the previous day. And the day before that. Always across the street. Always watching. Detectives returned to the reflection in the window. They adjusted brightness again. A flash of movement appeared in the glass. A hand lifting slightly. 2 fingers extended. A subtle signal. The gesture happened just seconds before the gunman entered. The timing was exact. Not coincidence. Coordination. The second figure had given permission. Or a command. Emma struggled to sleep in the weeks that followed. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the muzzle flash. Heard the ringing bell. Felt the cold tile against her cheek. But one memory haunted her most. Right before the first shot, she had heard something. Not a word. Not a shout. A whisper. Soft. Close. She had thought it came from behind her. Yet the footage showed no one standing near her. Investigators replayed the audio enhancement. Filtered background noise. lowered the hum of the refrigerator motor. And there it was. Faint but present. A single sentence. Spoken calmly. Almost gently. "It is time." The voice did not match the gunman. It came from nearer the entrance. From the direction of the reflection. Which meant the second figure had stepped inside. Just briefly. Just enough to speak. Then slipped back out before chaos erupted. The camera angle had missed that sliver of movement. A blind spot between frames. A gap no one had noticed at first glance. The realization changed everything. This was not one killer. This was at least two. One who pulled the trigger. And one who decided when. Detectives expanded the search radius. Checked surrounding businesses. Requested traffic camera feeds. 2 blocks away, another camera caught the dark sedan at a red light. In the passenger seat sat the gunman. In the driver's seat, partially turned away, was the second figure. The sunlight struck the driver's face for a fraction of a second. Enough to reveal a detail that froze the room during review. A small tattoo near the jawline. Distinct. Recognizable. It belonged to someone who had visited the convenience store many times. Someone who knew the layout. Someone who knew Mr. Lawson personally. A former employee. Terminated 6 months earlier after a dispute over missing cash. The motive sharpened. Revenge. Resentment nurtured in silence. But there was something deeper. Financial records showed large deposits into the former employee's account days before the murder. Money traced to an offshore source. The plot widened. This was not only personal. It was funded. Supported. Guided. And when authorities finally located the abandoned sedan, it had been wiped clean. No prints. No fibers. Only a faint scent of bleach and gasoline. Professional. Methodical. As if the daylight killing had been designed for visibility. As if being seen was part of the objective. The final piece emerged months later. A message sent from an encrypted account to a local journalist. It contained a single attachment. A still image taken from the store's security camera. The exact frame where the gunman stared into the lens. Beneath the image were 4 words. "We are always watching." The email was untraceable. The sender unknown. And the second figure remained missing. Somewhere beyond the reach of ordinary cameras. Beyond routine patrols. Beyond the comfort of daylight. Because the most chilling truth was not that the murder happened in broad daylight. It was that daylight had not stopped them. It had empowered them. And somewhere, in another crowded street under another bright sun, someone else might already be standing in reflection. Waiting. Weeks passed. Then months. The case moved from headlines to quiet discussion. But the footage never disappeared. It lived on hard drives. In evidence lockers. In the minds of those who had seen it too many times. Emma tried to return to routine. She avoided Maplewood Street. Avoided the sound of bells above shop doors. Avoided reflections in glass. One afternoon, nearly a year later, she forced herself to walk downtown. The sky was clear. The air felt warm. Ordinary. She stopped at a crosswalk. Cars idled beside her. Engines humming. She glanced at the storefront window across the street. A habit she could not break. And there it was. A reflection that did not match the crowd. A tall figure. Still. Watching. Her pulse stumbled. She turned quickly. No one stood behind her. Only a mother with a stroller. A man scrolling on his phone. The signal changed. Traffic moved. The reflection vanished. That night, detectives received another message. Another encrypted file. This time, it was a short video clip. 10 seconds long. Recorded from a distance. It showed Emma at the crosswalk earlier that day. Unaware. Observed. At the end of the clip, the camera tilted upward, catching a reflection in a nearby building. The same tall silhouette. Deliberate. Present. Following. Investigators traced the metadata. The upload originated from a public wireless network. Used for less than 2 minutes. No cameras in that location. No witnesses. Only a digital footprint that dissolved into static. The pattern was clear. The second figure was not hiding. The second figure was performing. Creating fear as carefully as the first crime. Months later, another city reported a midday shooting. Another small business. Another security camera. The footage showed a similar method. A shooter entering calmly. A vehicle waiting outside. And in the reflection of a glass door, barely visible, a tall silhouette raising 2 fingers. The same gesture. The same timing. Law enforcement connected the cases quietly. They avoided media panic. But inside task force rooms, the tension thickened. This was evolving. Not impulsive violence. Structured. Repeated. Designed for cameras. Designed for daylight. Then came the final transmission. Sent to multiple news outlets at once. A compilation. Clips from each crime. Edited together with chilling precision. No music. No commentary. Only raw footage. At the very end, a new scene appeared. A live camera feed. Timestamp blinking in real time. It showed a busy public square. Children playing near a fountain. Office workers eating lunch. Bright sun overhead. And in the center of the frame, standing perfectly still, the tall silhouette. Face still obscured. The figure slowly turned toward the camera. Then raised 2 fingers once more. The feed cut to black. Authorities rushed to identify the location. Cross-referenced architecture. Statues. Storefronts. Within minutes they found the square. Units were dispatched. Sirens cut through traffic. Officers flooded the area. But when they arrived, the square looked peaceful. Unremarkable. No silhouette. No visible threat. Only people confused by the sudden police presence. Then a scream pierced the air. Not from the center. From the edge of the square. Near a small cafe with outdoor seating. A body lay beside a table. No gunshots had been heard. No struggle witnessed. Only sudden collapse. Paramedics confirmed death within minutes. Cause unknown at first glance. The victim's phone rested on the table. Screen still lit. On it played a live stream. The same feed the news outlets had received. Meaning the victim had been watching. In the reflection of the phone screen, investigators later saw it. A tall silhouette standing directly behind the victim seconds before collapse. No weapon visible. No panic in the crowd. Just presence. And then absence. Toxicology reports later revealed a fast-acting compound. Administered with precision. Silent. Invisible. Public. The pattern had changed again. No longer dependent on loud violence. Now refined. Intimate. Close enough to whisper. Close enough to breathe on the back of a neck. The message was unmistakable. Daylight offered no safety. Crowds offered no protection. Cameras offered no deterrence. They were invitations. And somewhere, at this very moment, beneath another bright sky, a lens might already be recording. A reflection might already be forming. 2 fingers might already be lifting. The task force expanded across state lines. Patterns were mapped on digital walls. Red strings connected cities. Dates circled in black ink. Every incident occurred at midday. Every victim had one detail in common. Each had recently received an anonymous message. Short. Cryptic. Always the same 4 words. We are always watching. Some dismissed it as a prank. Some ignored it completely. Until the day's sunlight turned against them. Emma received the message one morning. It appeared on her screen without warning. No number. No sender. Just those 4 words. Her hands trembled. She felt the air thin around her. She reported it immediately. This time, protection was assigned. Plainclothes officers nearby. Unmarked vehicles stationed within view. Cameras redirected toward her apartment building. Days passed. Nothing happened. No silhouette. No reflection. No gesture. Tension stretched thin. Like a wire pulled too tight. Then came the anniversary. 1 year since Maplewood Street. Media trucks returned to the old convenience store. Flowers lined the sidewalk. Emma stood at a distance. She had promised herself she would not come. Yet she did. The sun stood high once again. Bright. Unforgiving. Cameras from news stations pointed toward the storefront. Live broadcasts rolled. Across the street, windows reflected the crowd. Dozens of mirrored surfaces. Endless angles. Endless blind spots. Emma felt it before she saw it. A stillness in the noise. A gap in the rhythm of movement. Her breath slowed. Her eyes drifted toward a reflection in a darkened office window. There. Between overlapping images of reporters and bystanders. The tall silhouette. Closer than ever. Standing just behind the outer edge of the crowd. 2 fingers slowly rising. Her pulse roared in her ears. She turned sharply. And this time, the figure stood in open view. No attempt to hide. A calm face beneath the sun. Eyes fixed on her. Not angry. Not rushed. Certain. Officers noticed her reaction. Hands moved toward concealed weapons. But before they could advance, a sudden commotion erupted near the center of the gathering. A cameraman collapsed beside his tripod. The live feed captured it instantly. Gasps rippled outward. People scattered. Chaos bloomed in bright daylight. Emma's gaze snapped back to where the silhouette had stood. Gone. Vanished within seconds. Paramedics pushed through the crowd. The cameraman's pulse faded rapidly. On the playback of the news camera, investigators later discovered something chilling. Just seconds before the collapse, the lens had adjusted focus automatically. It sharpened not on the crowd. Not on the victim. But on a reflection behind the cameraman. A faint image in the polished side of the news van. The tall figure standing inches away. One hand near the victim's shoulder. 2 fingers raised toward the camera. Then static interference flooded the screen. A distortion that lasted precisely 3 seconds. Long enough. When the image returned to clarity, the space behind the cameraman was empty. No struggle recorded. No clear method visible. Only effect. Emma understood something in that moment. This was never about random targets. It was about witnesses. About being seen. About forcing the world to watch. The second figure did not fear exposure. Exposure was the objective. Each crime was staged beneath open sky. Each act framed by glass and reflection. And every raised gesture was a signature. That night, surveillance teams reviewed hours of footage from surrounding buildings. At last, one camera caught a direct image. Not a reflection. Not a silhouette. A clear frontal view as the figure walked down an alley moments after the chaos. The face was visible. Calm. Focused. Familiar. Emma stared at the still frame when detectives showed her. Her stomach turned cold. Because she recognized the eyes. Not from the day of the murder. Not from the reflection. From somewhere else. Somewhere closer. The image zoomed slightly. Enhancing detail. And there, faint but undeniable, was a small scar above the eyebrow. The same scar worn by the journalist who had first received the encrypted footage a year ago. The same journalist who had built a career reporting on the daylight killings. Who had interviewed Emma twice. Who had stood beside her earlier that day during the anniversary broadcast. Always present. Always near the camera. Always watching. The realization settled heavily. The orchestrator had hidden in plain sight. Guiding the narrative. Controlling the lens. Deciding what the world saw. And beneath the relentless brightness of midday sun, the most dangerous place had never been the shadows. It had been the spotlight. The task force moved before dawn. Quiet vehicles. No sirens. No media alerts. The journalist's apartment building stood in pale morning light. Windows dark. Curtains drawn. Officers positioned at every exit. A warrant signed hours earlier. Inside, the hallway smelled of cleaning solution and old carpet. Boots pressed softly against the floor. A key turned. The door opened. Silence greeted them. No television hum. No footsteps. The apartment was empty. Too empty. Furniture remained. Books lined the shelves. Awards displayed neatly on the wall. But closets were cleared. Drawers hollow. Computer equipment gone. On the kitchen table sat a single object. A small camera. Powered on. Recording. Its red light blinked steadily. Officers exchanged looks. One stepped closer. The lens was angled toward the door. Toward them. On the table beside it lay a note. 4 words written in careful block letters. Thank you for watching. Forensics swept the apartment. Minimal prints. Bleach traces in the sink. A laptop hard drive removed with precision. Whoever had lived there had left deliberately. Not in panic. In preparation. Later that afternoon, every major network received a scheduled broadcast request. A live satellite feed. Origin masked. The message was simple. Air this at noon. Or more will follow. Authorities debated blocking it. But fear of unseen consequences weighed heavily. At exactly 12 o'clock, screens across the country flickered. The feed began. Bright sunlight flooded the frame. A rooftop somewhere in the city. Wind brushing against the microphone. The journalist stood centered in view. No disguise. No distortion. Calm expression. Behind him stretched a skyline shimmering in heat. He spoke clearly. Steady voice. He explained how people only value what they see. How violence hidden in darkness fades quickly from memory. How daylight forces attention. He described society as addicted to spectacle. Hungry for footage. Hungry for shock. He claimed he simply supplied demand. Each crime carefully orchestrated. Each victim selected for visibility. Each gesture designed to brand the act. 2 fingers. A signature more powerful than a name. He smiled faintly. Not with joy. With satisfaction. Then his tone shifted. He said the final act would require no weapon. No poison. No gunfire. Only observation. The camera slowly turned away from him. Panning across the rooftop edge. Far below, a large crowd had gathered in the square. Drawn by rumors of the broadcast location. Police vehicles surrounded the perimeter. Helicopters circled overhead. The journalist stepped closer to the edge. The wind tugged at his jacket. He looked directly into the lens one last time. 2 fingers rose calmly into frame. Across the square, thousands of phone cameras pointed upward. Recording. Watching. He lowered his hand. And without hesitation, stepped backward off the rooftop. Gasps erupted from every direction. The live feed jolted as the camera tumbled. Sky spinning. Concrete rushing upward. The screen cut to black before impact. Silence followed. Authorities confirmed his death within minutes. No manifesto beyond the broadcast. No accomplice located. No further encrypted messages. The daylight killing stopped. News cycles slowly shifted focus. Memorials replaced headlines. Yet analysts continued to study the footage. Frame by frame. Searching for proof that he had acted alone. Searching for assurance that the pattern had truly ended. Months later, in a quiet evidence room, a technician reviewed archived video one final time. The original Maplewood Street recording. He watched the reflection in the store window again. The tall silhouette. The raised gesture. But something new caught his eye. In the glass behind the silhouette, another reflection appeared. Faint. Almost imperceptible. A second set of 2 fingers lifting in perfect synchronization. From a different angle. From a different height. The technician leaned closer to the screen. Heart slowing. Breath shallow. The frame froze under harsh digital light. 2 silhouettes. Not one. And the second figure had never been identified. The discovery was kept quiet. Only a handful of investigators saw the frozen frame. 2 silhouettes. 2 raised gestures. Perfectly aligned in daylight. The room felt smaller after that. Air heavier. Certainty thinner. The official report remained unchanged. Case closed. Primary suspect deceased. Threat neutralized. Public fear slowly softened into memory. Emma moved away from the city. A smaller town. Quieter streets. Fewer cameras. She avoided interviews. Avoided anniversaries. She tried to rebuild something steady. One afternoon, months later, she stood inside a bookstore. Sunlight streamed through tall front windows. Dust floated in golden beams. The bell above the door chimed softly as customers came and went. Ordinary sounds. Ordinary light. She carried a novel to the counter. Her reflection caught in the glass display case. For a moment, she studied her own face. Tired. Older. Stronger. Behind her, other reflections layered together. Shelves. Lamps. A man browsing near the entrance. Nothing unusual. Nothing still. Her pulse remained calm. She paid for the book. Stepped outside into the bright afternoon. The sky was clear. Traffic steady. Life continuing. Across the street, a large storefront window mirrored the sidewalk. She glanced at it once. Out of habit. Only herself looking back. No silhouette. No raised fingers. Just movement. Just people. She exhaled slowly. And kept walking. In a sealed evidence archive miles away, the frozen frame remained stored on a secure server. 2 figures captured in harsh midday light. One identified. One unknown. Time would decide whether it was an overlooked artifact. Or proof of something unfinished. But for now, the streets were quiet. The cameras still mounted above doors. Still watching. Recording ordinary days under ordinary sun. And as evening finally replaced the glare of noon, the city slipped gently into shadow. For the first time in a long while, daylight no longer felt like a weapon. It felt like light again.